the word of God is saying, don't be weary in well-doing, for in your due season you shall be reaping a harvest of blessings He has in store. Keep trusting and believing He will open every door. It will be
to this place as women with greatness and women of excellence. I hope that your heart has been blessed thus far. As we say in our church, every round goes higher and higher. And I say every round gets gooder and gooder. I want to introduce a wonderful friend of mine. We were honored 2 years ago as Women of Excellence in the state of Arkansas, and that's when our paths crossed. And we have become friends and support systems to each other. I am speaking none other than Dr. Michele Wright, PhD. She's an author, speaker, and success expert, a native of Tuskegee, Alabama, currently serves as the Senior Director of the National Biotechnology and Pharmaceutical Association, and is the 2010 recipient of Sisters Friends United Women of Excellence Award for the area of business and entrepreneurship. Dr. Wright is a top-performing national and international multiple award-winning corporate leader. She has worked with the Fortune 500 organizations, including Genentech Biotech Company, Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, the Pillsbury Company, the Procter & Gamble Company, Honeywell, and Martin Marietta Corporation. She has a successful track record in education, engineering, and food. She is a success guru in project team and total quality management. Michele holds a BS degree in electrical engineering from Tuskegee University, graduating with high honors and as Electrical Engineering Student of the Year. She has a master's degree in industrial engineering management from the University of Tennessee Space Institute. So we're talking about some brain power. Becoming UTSI's full first African-American student to earn a Master of Science degree in engineering management and a PhD in public policy from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. Double major specializing in health and leadership policy. Success expert Michele Wright's extensive research of some of America's most outstanding women achievers served as inspirations for her international book awards. I want to promote that. I read the book. No matter where you are in your career, you need to purchase Dear Success Seeker, Wisdom from Outstanding Women. And some of the women included in her book are some of our own nationally acclaimed Delta Sigma Theta sorority sorors. Dr. Michele Wright lives in North Little Rock, Arkansas with her husband, Terry G. Wright. He's been helping her all morning. She said, well, can my husband help pick up the books or do something for me? I said, as long as he understands that this is a women's conference and that he needs to move on when he gets through with his project. I told the same thing. I was not discriminatory because I told Pastor Craig Banks, my beloved brother, that was helping his wife, he had to leave also. In the spirit of success, because sometimes as women, we need to let go and let God. And sometimes we get handicapped when our men are in our space, or when people are in our space that we're trying to impress. And so we're going to let it all hang out. But what I want to tell you about Michele, she's a spiritual woman. She loves the Lord, and she believes in giving back to the community and helping others. And I'm so proud. I told her, I said, Michele, the Lord told me to do this free. I know you get charged and get paid lots of stuff over the nation internationally, but I ain't got no money. And I need to know that what you told me about yourself for serving others, I need to see if it's going to be true today for this women's conference. And so in the spirit of excellence and what God told her, she said, Sarakata, I'm going to be obedient. And I'm going to come on with it. And of this community, our community, needless to say, I am most honored and thankful to Chapter President Sarah Angela Dorian, Miss Sarah Crystal Barker, the first Vice President, Janine Perez, the Recording Secretary, Tanya Middleton, the Treasurer, and also the conference chairs, Dr. Estelle Rutledge and Miss Rosalind Booth, and the entire Little Rock Alumni chapter of my sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for this distinct opportunity to serve as the featured guest speaker for this year's third Women Annual Conference. And let me extend a very special acknowledgement and expression of sisterly love to former chapter president and also the chair of this conference. She's a patriot, she's a trailblazer, Sarah Janie Cotton, whose work in the field of mental health, social work, and integrated care has and continues to transform our community through vision and excellence. And let me also acknowledge my wonderful, kind, and supporting husband, Terry Wright, in his absence. And women, believe me when I say God is still making and transforming good men to impact the mental, physical, and spiritual nature of the woman. So keep hope alive. Let me also extend heartfelt thanks to my very own First Lady and friend, Stella Laskin and Sister Carrie Wright, who personally accompanied me today, alongside friends and church members and supporters for personally coming out today. You know, you could have been anywhere today, but you came out to support, so I'm feeling the love. And I'm grateful to see, I thought I saw my Sarah Erica Brooks. I just want to give her a shout out as well for coming out and support me, alongside each and every one of you who have decided that this is a year for change for the better. But it's not only that, it's a new season. A new season of women transforming the community through integrated care, impacting the mental, the physical, and the spiritual nature. But let me just pause for a moment because I want to take an assessment. My first question to you, are you excited about being in attendance at this year's third annual Women's Conference? I kind of feel the excitement, but I think you can do a little bit better than that. My second question, do you wholeheartedly believe that this is your season of transformation of the mind, the body, and the soul? Then look no further, because you are in the right place at the right time. And with this being the start of yet another year and new season, what better opportunity for us, especially as women, to come together in synergy, to not only transform our community, but to impact our own mental, physical, and spiritual nature. And as an author, speaker, and success expert, I can't help but think about how blessed I am to have 85 outstanding women, all from a diverse range of age, background, and experience, to contribute their original words of wisdom for inclusion in my book, Dear Success Seeker, Wisdom from Outstanding Women. But even more remarkable is the fact that since the inception of Dear Success Seeker and acquiring each of the aforementioned 85's originally written success advice letters, that roughly 10 of these women, these original book contributors, are now deceased, including the first woman elected principal chief of the Cherokee Nation Women Man Killer, civil rights icon and mother of the modern-day civil rights movement, Rosa Parks, internationally acclaimed dancer and choreographer, Catherine Dunham, founder of the National Black Nurses Association, Dr. Lori Ann Sams, the first licensed female Tuskegee Airman, or should I say airwoman, Mildred Carter, the first American woman from the United States to win a Nobel Prize in medicine, Dr. Rosalind Yalow, and the former chair of the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Dorothy Height, among a few others. And although they have now passed on, they are still never forgotten for each of their journeys to success, including the challenges and triumphs, the adventures and mishaps, continue to live on not only in Dear Success Seeker, but each of our hearts. And since Dr. Dorothy Height was not only a founding matriarch of the American Civil Rights Movement, whose crusade for racial justice and gender equality spanned more than 6 decades, but she was also the 10th national president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, it is only befitting that I share with you a portion of the original success advice letter that she personally wrote for inclusion in Dear Success Seeker. Dr. Height writes, "Know yourself and set career goals worthy of the person you know you are. Even your studies will help you set your goals. The road will not be easy. Success depends upon your stick-to-itness and the passion with which you pursue your goals. Hold fast. Each day I'm learning, and I urge you to keep abreast and be knowledgeable about what is happening in your community and the changes in the world around you." It's amazing to me how Dr. Dorothy Height had the foresight to understand and to appreciate the significance of staying abreast and being knowledgeable about not only what is happening in the community, but in the world around us. But I like to always inject my own words of wisdom, for I would inject that without awareness, there is no knowledge. Without knowledge, there is no power. And without power, there is no change or transforming the community. In Dear Success Seeker, Faye Wallerton, who's the president for the Center for the Advancement of Women, and she was also the first Black to become president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, emphasizes, you have power within yourself to create beneficial change for yourself and for others. And Dear Success Seeker book contributor Vanessa Castagan, who is one of Fortune magazine's 50 most powerful women in business, injects, we live in a world that is constantly changing. My challenge to you is to become a leader of change and energize the people around you, which strongly implies that we as women have not only the power to create beneficial change, but to become leaders of change and ultimately energize the community through integrated care, hence impacting the mental, the physical, the spiritual nature, which is the theme for this year's 3rd Annual Women's Conference. But when we immediately hear mental, physical, and spiritual nature, we automatically see and treat them as three separate states. But actually, our mental, our physical, and our spiritual natures are all interrelated. American football coach Vince Lombardi, as well as my very own pastor of the House of Refuge and Deliverance, Dr. Lloyd Lasker Jr., explains it like this. Watch your thoughts, they become your beliefs. Watch your beliefs, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. And watch your habits, they become your character. Delta Sarah, educator, philanthropist, and wife of comedian Bill Cosby, Dr. Camille Cosby, who I was most honored to have written the foreword to my book, Dear Success Seeker, Wisdom from Outstanding Women, surmises that joyful attitudes and behaviors, which is our spiritual nature, make for excellent mental and physical health. So now, since we are all aware that the mental, the physical, and the spiritual natures are separate but yet interconnected, then why the importance to us as women to transform our community through integrated care in an effort to individually as well as collectively impact our mental, our physical, and our spiritual nature? Well, unquestionably, I am sure that the following statistics will definitely shed more light. As it pertains to the mental nature of women, 1 in 4 women will experience severe depression at some point in life. Depression affects twice as many women as men, regardless of racial and ethnic background or even income. And it is the #1 cause of disability in women. In general, married women, for you single women that's just dying to get married, they experience depression more than single women do. And depression is common among young mothers who stay at home full-time with young children. Depression can put women at risk for suicide. And while more men than women die from suicide, women attempt suicide about twice as often as men do. And to make matters worse, only about 1/5 of all women who suffer from depression seek treatment. Martha Hawkins, another contributor to Dear Success Seeker, and owner and operator of Martha's Place Restaurant and Catering in my birth state of Alabama, can personally relate to the struggle of mental illness, as she openly shares. The only person who can stop you is you. There is power in believing in yourself. Whatever we get out of life, we pay a price for it. You cannot allow anyone to steal your dreams or visions. Hold on to them for dear life. Do not give in or give up. As a single mother with 4 boys, my life was a real struggle. I attempted suicide by taking an overdose of tranquilizers and was placed in a mental hospital. Shortly thereafter, I was returned to public housing and welfare. At the age of 31, my life was extremely bleak. Being an uneducated black female from an economically disadvantaged background, I knew that I would face obstacles and barriers. But because I believed in God, He had a purpose on my life and that He had a plan for my life, I refused to give up. I decided to take charge of my life and fight my way out of poverty. And thus why Ms. Hawkins brings realistic attention to the reality of how we, not only as a community, but women, are impacted through our mental nature. The physical impacts are equally alarming. For instance, women have a lifetime risk of little more than 1 in 3 developing cancer. And cardiovascular disease kills about 1 woman per minute and claims more lives than the next 4 most common causes of death for women combined. Coronary heart disease is the leading killer of women over the age of 25. 64% of women who died suddenly of coronary heart disease had no previous symptoms. And stroke is the 3rd leading cause of death for American women and kills more than twice as many American women as breast cancer. And stroke incidence among African American women is almost double that of white Americans. And as it pertains to autoimmunity, altogether, autoimmune diseases strike women 3 times more than men. For instance, anyone can get lupus, an inflammatory autoimmune disease that may affect many parts of the body. But 90% of those with lupus are women. And African American women are 3 times more likely to get lupus than white women. In the 1950s, only 50% of lupus patients lived 4 years after diagnosis, whereas today, 80 to 90% of lupus patients survive 10 years or more after diagnosis. Lupus deaths are 5 times higher for women than men and 3 times higher for blacks than whites. Are you now starting to get the picture of the significant impact that the aforementioned devastating statistics, both mentally and physically, can have on our community? Which brings me to the impact of the 3rd component, our spiritual nature. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to interview Gail King, editor-at-large of the Oprah magazine, for my book, Dear Success Seeker. And during our one-on-one exclusive interview, Gail expounded on spirituality by expressing, I believe spirituality helps center you and makes you a better person. I just feel that spirituality is a way of living your life and striving to be the best that you can be. Another of my Dear Success Seeker contributors, former Essence editor Susan L. Taylor, adds that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Remember and repeating one spiritual truth overrides 1,000 negative thoughts. And when we stir up our faith in the riches within us, all of life's blessings flow. As a living testament to stirring up one's faith to experience life's blessings flow, I knew a woman in Christ about 45 years ago who was born with a serious learning disability as well as a severe speech impediment, resulting in her inability to speak before the age of 5. And as she dealt to overcome mental and debilitating challenges, she inevitably was diagnosed with lupus, life-threatening lupus, about 18 years ago, and was counted among the dead. But due to the glory, the grace, and the mercy of God, she now stands before you today in complete healing and victory as your most honored motivational speaker of this year's 3rd annual Women's Conference. Oh yes, I don't care what you say or what the world say, God still has the very last say so.
Dear Success Seeker is a book that's an easy read. It's real. And it's not somebody's ideologies, it's not somebody's theories, it's real talk from real people who have done things in our society and other societies and throughout the world.
Which is unquestionably why I firsthand know and appreciate women transforming the community through integrated care, impacting the mental, the physical, the spiritual nature. Because I was an individual, and no doubt a woman, who clearly and desperately needed not just a transformation, a life-changing transformation through the integrated care of a general practitioner who originally diagnosed me on Valentine's Day of 1994. I know where it's love. With systemic lupus erythematosus. A rheumatologist who maintained responsibility as my secondary specialist to treat my systemic lupus. A dermatologist who dealt with the disfiguring butterfly rash and devastating scars and lesions that were once deemed to be permanent, that were all over my entire face and body. A cardiologist who treated the complication of built-up of fluid and overload in my heart. A gastroenterologist who treated my life-threatening lupus exacerbated colon vasculitis that literally almost claimed my life in August of 1994. A physiotherapist who treated my debilitating injury and dysfunction caused by lupus. A neurologist who tended to the swelling and inflammation on my brain. A gynecologist who dealt with the effects of lupus on my reproductive system, more than likely resulting in me having no children to today. Women, I'm sorry, no testimony of Sarah here. A psychologist who aggressively addressed my major depression, my severe anxiety, and my dire mental anguish of fearing death, but moreover fearing the right to live and to fight for life. A social worker who advised me on how to cope with the devastating prognosis of lupus and the reality that more than likely I will not live past the age of 30. And a God, my God, our God, who proclaimed, I shall live and not die, and if he be for me, no devil in hell can be against me. Thank you, Jesus, and glory be to God. Thus, as women, we can help our community in general and women in particular overcome the earlier devastating statistics impacting our mental, our physical, and our spiritual nature, and inevitably ensure that a fully integrated healthcare system is available and provided to all people, the entire spectrum of integrated medical care, regardless of their circumstance. But first, let change, and I'm talking about real change, start with you, me, and us. I was humbly honored to meet Janie Cotton Friday before last for lunch at the North Little Rock headquarters of the Professional Counseling Associates, where Janie has not only the great honor of being CEO as well as the first Black CEO, but she has the unique distinction of being the first Black woman in the state of Arkansas to serve as CEO of a major mental health organization. I think that deserves a clap of applause.
It's good to have young women like her in our midst that can share experiences, knowledge, and give length and breadth to it for young women to follow. She's an inspiration.
Immediately following our lunch, I was fortunate and appreciative to receive a personal tour from Janie of the magnificent and commendable state-of-the-art facility and exemplary model integrated care organization which she runs. It is quite impressive. If you haven't seen it, get with her and see it. It is a must-see. And during my exclusive tour, I could not help but be encouraged by all of the multiple and beautiful framed quotes of inspiration showcased throughout her entire facility. But a couple of these sayings really stuck out to me, and I would like the opportunity to share them with you. The first one focused on possibilities, highlighting that the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them in the impossible. Let me further expound that it is imperative to understand that this is a continuous process. And just as you believe you have conquered one devil, And one enemy that comes to steal your faith, kill your hopes, and destroy your livelihood, simply watch out, because here comes another. Especially when you least suspect and when you are least prepared. Once God finally blessed me to conquer my life-threatening lupus, I was more than assured that the worst of the evil days was behind me. But now I'm fully understanding and can appreciate why the Bible tells us in Ephesians 6, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil days, and having done all to stand, stand. That's right. Because in April of 2009, and this was the exact same month, same year that my book, Dear Success Seeker, was officially released, I went to take a shower and get dressed in the restroom, and I noticed that my body was completely covered in bruises. And it alarmed me, so I immediately called my rheumatologist. I said, my body is covered in bruises. I sent my first lady a text, and it scared me, because I knew something wasn't quite right. And she said, Michelle, can you come on in and get here? I said, I'm on my way. So she looks at my body, and I could tell, she was trying to encourage me. She was looking real concerned. She sends me downstairs, and actually, Sister Carrie Wright actually drew my blood. And I remember when she started to draw my blood, it just gushed out like water, like it had no substance. And Sister Carrie kind of looked at me, I looked at her, and we both looked kind of concerned. But again, my doctor tried to encourage me. She said, just go home. If there's any type of news, I'll reach out to you. And 20 minutes later, as I was pulling up at the house, the phone rang, and it was my rheumatologist. She said, Michelle, she said, I have some unfortunate news. You have no white blood cells, no red blood cells, no platelets, and immediately I've already set you up an appointment with the hematologist to see you immediately. And so once I saw the hematologist, he immediately said, this is clearly leukemia. But that was only the beginning. Following my first of 3 very painful, unbearable, agonizing bone marrow biopsies, I was told that it was no matter if I had leukemia, as it was a matter of what kind. Then I reached out to my pastor, my first lady, all the saints of my home church, the House of Refuge and Deliverance, alongside other prayer warriors across the nation, including my very own mother, Erin, and just all other prayer warriors. I said, please go into intercessory prayer on my behalf, because I know the power of prayer. Yes, yes. Well, following my second bone marrow biopsy, and this one was even worse because at this point I literally had no blood in my body. So they were going in drilling into dry bone. He also recommended that I get a CAT scan. And the CAT scan revealed every lymph node in my body was 3 times the normal size. So it was no longer a matter of just having leukemia. He says, I think you have leukemia and lymphoma. But how many of you know that we walk by faith and not by sight? Come on. And although my faith was rocky and shaky, I still had the fortitude, even when I could not pray, to ask the saints to please continue praying for me, a miracle for God. I need him to show up and do something. Then within a week of my 3rd bone marrow biopsy and an entire lymph node removal under my left arm, my hematologist told me my results were in, but he could not share them with me. Well, I was disturbed. I said, look, I'm stressed here. What is my results? Do I have one, both? No, I mean, what's going on? He said, first I'm going to have to send it to a specialist, a leukemia lymphoma specialist at the University of New Mexico. I need a second opinion before I give you this unlikely news. And needless to say, it took another whole week. I could not sleep. Now, my husband, he slept like a baby, but whoever said life was fair, right? Then finally, my hematologist told me the results would end that the leukemia lymphoma specialist at the University of New Mexico confirmed the results. He said, please come to my office. And I got together my entire faith entourage. It was my pastor, my sister, my husband, of course, First Lady via cell phone, and everybody else, and we went to his office. And as I was waiting, I felt my support team knowing that I needed some prayer. And so they began to pray because I was feeling a little discouraged because all I kept thinking about, he used the word unlikely results, unlikely news. What does that mean? And as they began to pray, I felt my strength coming back. And before I knew it, he walks in the room and he looks at me and he shakes his head. He said, you're not going to believe this. No leukemia and no lymphoma. How many know the blood still works? It ain't over until God says it's over. To God be the glory.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
But again, as the poster hanging in Sarah Janie Cotton's building states, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them and the impossible.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, God didn't feel that I was quite tested enough and that my limits of the possible and going beyond them and the impossible needed to be exponentially increased. And so about a year later, they were, and even beyond my wildest imagination. Ironically, the night before I was to head to Louisiana on July the 29th, 2010, as an invited author to participate in Delta Sigma Theta sorority's Authors Pavilion, and this is at their 50th National Convention in New Orleans. My husband complained of a sharp pain in his leg, and keep in mind, my husband is typically not the type to complain. You know, he leaves that anointing to me. But it concerned me enough to immediately get him to the emergency room. Well, upon arrival, they discovered that he had multiple blood clots in his calves, his thighs, and his lungs, among a series of other life-threatening events. And then his situation went from bad to worse when they discovered that he had aggressive pneumonia, a cracked spine, and was losing weight at an alarming but unexplained rate. And what was to be a simple visit to the emergency room actually turned out to my husband spending an entire month in the hospital fighting for his life, including a week in rehab to learn how to walk again. But upon my husband being released in early September from the hospital, I was elated that what I thought was the real evil day was finally behind us. But then I noticed that my husband's weight loss went from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 pounds, only to later be presumed by a local gastroenterologist to be pancreatic cancer, the same prognosis that claimed his sister's lives just years prior. And in the process of all this occurring, I knew that I was beginning to feel a little weak in my body, and I basically just contributed to being stressed and being overexhausted, caring and worrying about my husband. But then a couple of weeks later, I was leaving my hair appointment, and Sarah Erica Brooks noticed that I was not responsive in my car. And she went and got help, and when they all came to the car and they finally got me up, I kind of played it off. I said, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just exhausted. I just need some long overdue rest, and I just need to go home and tend to my husband. He needs me. But then I noticed when I went home, I had a fever of 104 that would not shake. So Sarah Brooks called me and several other of my loved ones. They said, hey, a 104 fever for 3 days, get to the emergency room. And so finally, I went to the emergency room because I needed to get back home because my real concern was my husband because his prognosis for life was appearing to be more and more bleak each day. And although my husband was extremely frail and he could barely walk, he insisted on coming with me to the emergency room. And I really thought I was going to be quickly in, quickly out. Well, following some precautionary blood work, to my dismay yet again, they told me that I had no white blood cells, no red blood cells, no platelets, and that they were immediately hospitalizing me in an isolated room so I wouldn't have contact with anyone. Although everybody was coming to see me, I had a good time. But about a week into my hospital stay, I was rushed to the critical care unit for what they said was a heart attack. And the day I was released from the CCU, I received news that the job I was to begin that week terminated me because I was a no-show for orientation. You know, it's kind of difficult to show up for orientation from the CCU, but they didn't get that memo. But where's the love, right? Where's the love? And to make matters worse, I, like my husband, had to walk all over again due to muscle, joint, and soft tissue atrophy. So after a $101,000 hospital bill for my husband, followed just barely a month later by a $103,000 bill for me. You know, I just had to outdo him. With no job nor medical insurance.
Come on now. Come on, girl.
For either of us.
Come on.
Coupled with a poor prognosis of possible death for the both of us. All followed by my challenging year of high-dose steroids and 45 pounds weight gain. But don't y'all think I still look good? Both my husband and I are not only still here, but God showed up, saved us, healed us, restored us, and gave us a testimony that through man it may be impossible, but through God all things are possible. Now can I get an amen, a hallelujah, and a thank you, Jesus, for God Almighty? You didn't hear me. Can I get an amen, a hallelujah, and a thank you, Jesus, for God Almighty? And the second motivational piece of art that stuck out to me during my tour with Janie centered around change and proclaimed, change is the essence of life. Be willing to surrender what you are for what you would become. Therefore, as women, we must become the change that we want to see in the community. Change is good, but change for the better is paramount. This is why I said earlier, change must first start with you, me, and us. This is why my new personal motto in 2012 centers around Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14, where the apostle Paul conveys, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth until those things which are before. I press for the mark, for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Okay, women, what am I saying? I'm saying forget lupus, cancer, and heart disease. Forget depression, hopelessness, and suicide. Forget your past failures and your disappointments. Forget your heartbreak, your hurts, and your pain. Forget negativity, unbelief, and low self-esteem. Forget jealousy, envy, and strife. Forget poverty, complacency, and illiteracy. Forget divorce, affairs, and abandonment. Hey, forget physical abuse, mental abuse, and drug abuse. Forget rape and unlawful violation. Forget an eye for an eye and, hey, retaliation. Forget foolishness and mayhem. Forget generational curses, self-infliction, and condemnation. Forget you are a high school dropout with no recommendation. Forget your enemy and the ones who have told you that you will never be anything. And be confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you shall perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. And when you're finally done forgetting those things which are behind, then reach forth renewing, changing, and transforming not only the community, but your mind, your body, and the soul. Reach forth divine power, and not only life, but life more abundantly. Reach forth loving kindness and tender mercies which are renewed every morning. Reach forth faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. So reach forth not only love, but a love that is patient and kind and never fails. Reach forth not only peace, but the peace of God which passes all understanding. Reach forth not only joy, but joy unspeakable. Reach forth new beginnings. Reach for a spirit of excellence. Reach for success. Matter of fact, while you're at it, reach for dear success. Because I got copies. See me when we're done. Then reach for moving beyond that which you have already mastered so you can grow. Reach for deliverance. And not only grace, but sufficient grace and glory. Reach for the exceeding abundant increase, blessings, and overflow of God. And then finally, reach forth God's final destination. For he knows the plans that he has for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and to not harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And lastly, as we all individually, as women, and collectively as a community, seek and find our divine purpose in life, as well as our ordained destiny in God, as we strive to not only transform our community, but our own physical, mental, and spiritual nature. Let us all continue to press for the mark of the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Don't give up and enjoy your journey to success. God bless you, and I love you.
Sister Raya, I'd just like to say, keep up the good work. You have encouraged me, and I have been pressing forward from your messages, from your prayers, and your inspirational words. I'd like to say I love you, and continue to keep spreading the love.
I wanted to say that this was a very, very eye-opening. Being a parent and a foster parent of special needs and children with disabilities, I didn't know all this health services was out here for us to obtain. So, I mean, it's been a big eye-opener for me. I have adopted a child who was a special needs child, and they diagnosed her with pretty much everything that you could diagnose children as. And as of today, she is 19 years old. She is in Pulaski Technical College. She's doing wonderful. They told her at the age that she would never be able to read or write, and she has anomalies similar to the anomalies of Dr. Wright. So they had told her she couldn't read or write, so we figured we would call the devil out and call him a lie, that he was. And now she is doing, I mean, amazingly well.
It's just been a blessing that women of all types, just diverse, we can get together and worship and thank God, because it's just more than just a conference. It's about changing changing it from the inside out. I thank God for Michele. I thank God for how we met. She has been a blessing since I've met her. If you ever come across her, you will never be the same again.
I would just like to first say I praise God for the opportunity. He gave me this vision about 5 years ago, was able to implement it 3 years ago. I wanted to impact the lives of women, to let them know that there was hope, joy, and peace in their lives, and that they did not have to accept abuse or any derogatory comments about themselves, so that they could be the best possible person that God designed for them in this world. We're so excited that Dr. Michele Wright could be our keynote speaker. She had such a wonderful testimony, and I was able to have a part of that testimony 2 years ago when we were chosen as Women of Excellence.
Our goal was to open it up to women in the community, not just for our chapter members, but women all over the city of Little Rock, and to deal with the needs of women every day, be there loss of job, loss of spouse or loved one, a loss of home. So we wanted to help those women to overcome, and so they could feel better about themselves, and also give them some resources to deal with everyday life.
I can remember 3 years ago when Janie Cotton brought the vision to the chapter to have a women's conference because of the needs that we saw internal, external in our communities, where women were depressed and just dealing with different issues on a day-to-day basis. And as a service organization where our goal is to serve others, we saw this being a very beneficial thing, not only internal but external, to help our sisters, you know, in the chapter as well as outside. And this is our 3rd year, and we can see each year that God has taken us higher and higher and higher. And we just give him again all the glory and all the praise for another Women's Conference of Success.
Michele today touched home with me at the end when she talked about her motto for 2012 from Philippians, and I have personally adopted that motto because I have put forth some challenges for myself this year that I've been saying for many years that I was going to do, but in 2012 I have declared a change, and that scripture really hit home, and I have adopted that as my motto for myself. I'm a very proud member of Little Rock Alumni Chapter, and send kudos to Soror and past President Janie Cotton for her vision for bringing this to our chapter.
I received a blessing, as we always do when the saints of God come together, by the speaker. As she began to share her testimony, it was just phenomenal to see that God had ordained her for purpose through trial and tribulation by way of illness. It seemed as every time she talked about one illness, it went to another level. I've had a couple of friends who have died from the disease that she is now healed from. And not only did the enemy come and attack her husband, which she is his helpmeet, the enemy showed that the enemy attacked her home, he attacked her body, but she trusted God through calling in what she called on the prayer warriors, she called on the saints of God, those people who knew the power of prayer. So I couldn't wait really to hear the climax of her testimony, because I knew that God would be victorious. And she was such a blessing to me, because I have some things that I am going through right now in the physical aspects of my body. And I know that God is no respecter of persons. And if he did it for her, he will do it for me. Awesome, powerful woman. She has a testimony that the world needs to hear.
God is so good. Lord, I just thank you. I thank you for your grace, favor, and mercy. I thank you for the opportunity to have the testimony to inspire today. We are transforming the community. and not only through integrated care, but through love, joy, peace, faith, goodness, gentleness, meekness, through the fruit of your Spirit. Lord, I thank you. This has been such a blessing. The women and the turnout was just phenomenal. God has blessed me to not only be a dear success seeker, to be a God seeker. I just want to encourage everyone to continue giving God the glory as you continue to go higher and higher in your divine purpose in life and your ordained destiny in God. The best is not only to come, the best is here. Get ready, let's celebrate, and to God be the glory.